This is the story of how this and this became this while going through this. I'm sweltering. I'm feeling very overwhelmed. Yeah, there's a lot to do. And like, why am I making dungarees in like 30-degree weather? So today I'm going to attempt to sew a pair of overalls from scratch as a beginner in 48 hours. So the reason for this challenge is I've never been able to successfully sew pants from scratch, let alone overalls, and I've always been really nervous to sew them because they're quite complicated, they're quite technical. So I thought the ultimate thing to push my butt into gear and learn some new techniques would be to force myself to sew overalls in this time crunch. I don't know if that's a good idea, but that's what we're gonna do. So I normally wake up at like midday, but I woke up early for you guys so that we could actually start this challenge on a good note. So right now it's just gone 8 in the morning, and I guess I'm just gonna get started. Logical thing to do would be to find an overalls pattern online with all the instructions and the pattern pieces and all that jazz. But did I do that? No, I did not. For some reason I didn't even think of that. So instead I found a free jeans pattern online with no instructions that looked somewhat promising, and I decided to alter it to turn it into an overalls pattern, even though I have no idea what I'm doing. Because what's the point in making your own clothing if you don't suffer at least a little, right? The only problem is this is a PDF pattern, which means I'm going to have to spend an ungodly amount of time just printing it all out and sticking it together before I can even think about starting this project. So I decided to change back into my pajamas, as I knew I'd be crawling around on the crusty dusty floor like the little goblin that I am, playing a game of Twister where everyone loses. And I'm so happy I did, because sticking together this paper pattern really took it out of me. Like, who decided PDF paper patterns was a good idea anyway? So enjoy this montage of me spending hours of my life I'll never get back gluing together and cutting out this PDF paper pattern that might not even look good or fit me properly. But hey, at least it's satisfying, right? So I finally cut out all my pattern pieces, looking really good. The good news is the sun finally decided to come out, but the bad news is this is actually a jeans pattern, but I want overalls. So I'm going to have to draft a couple more pieces. So I'm going to have to do like the front bib, the back bib, and I'm also going to have to change the front like zipper closure into side buttons, because I think that that's more the look I'm going for. Here I am pretending to know what I'm doing, like the rest of this video. I started measuring out rough shapes, but by the end of it I was basically just hacking away at some paper with some scissors to make shapes that looked like they would work, crossing my fingers and hoping for the best. And if that isn't my life in a nutshell, I don't know what is. So I just finished gluing all my pattern pieces together and cutting them all out. And I've also made my own pattern pieces to turn these from jeans into overalls. I just kind of wing it, so I don't know if this is actually going to work out. I've never made overalls before, so I have no idea. But anyway, now it's 10:38, so I'm making good progress, I think. So now I'm going to cut up my fabric and hope nothing goes wrong. I then spent like 15 minutes pinning down the back pattern piece, trying to get it all lined up and even, and then... yeah, I pinned it too close to the edge and ran out of room, so I had to repeat that process all over again. At this point I was really worried this pattern wouldn't fit right, because overalls tend to have a bit more ease than jeans, and I was feeling really anxious because if they didn't fit right this whole challenge would be for nothing. So I decided to go up a size and cut them a bit bigger to get that signature oversized dungaree look. I repeated this for the front panels, making sure to leave enough fabric to fit my whole pattern this time, and with just enough fabric to spare, I managed to cut out the extra pieces that I drafted to turn these jeans into overalls. So I'm back and it's 1:52, so we're really burning through the day. I had to get changed again because it's getting so hot in here, like I'm sweltering, and like why am I making dungarees in like 30-degree weather? I don't know, but yeah, I'm kind of worried. Like I've just been waiting, trying to figure out how the hell to sew these together. I keep watching videos of other people making dungarees in hopes that I'll like absorb some of that information into my brain, but I honestly have no idea how to even begin to sew these together. So I'm feeling very overwhelmed, to say the least. I really should have just bought a sewing pattern, but if things aren't painful, then what's the point, you know? After about half an hour of procrastination, I decided to start on the button side placket thingies because that's what I saw all the sewing YouTube girlies and the Pinterest mums do, so I'ma just follow suit. I mean, they know what they're doing, right? I started by folding my bigger placket pieces in half and sewing down the side seam. I then turned them right sides out. I also zigzag stitched my smaller packet pieces so they wouldn't fray, and I then sewed the smaller placket to the front leg panel and the bigger placket to the back pieces. So I just finished sewing on the plackets and it went way better than I expected. So it's 2:42 now, so we're definitely chugging through the time, but that's okay. It's okay. So now I think I'm just going to sew down the top and the bottom like leg seams so we get like a pantaloon leg. One leg down. With my newfound confidence and slightly too big ego, I sewed the other leg seams together. Then I ended up taking a break for dinner and I told myself I would get right back into sewing once I was done, but I ate way too much and fell into a deep food coma, so I decided to just quit while I was ahead and resume the rest of the project bright and early the next day. So it's just past 10 at the moment, and yesterday I didn't really get up to much. I literally only finished the 2 single layer pant legs because cutting out all the pattern pieces took so long. So I'm kind of nervous today because I don't even know if I'm going to be able to finish this project. Like, we're running out of time and I do not do well on a time crunch, so we'll see how we go. But basically I think the plan for this morning is I'm just going to sew the pant legs together at the crotch seam so I can try them on and do like a little first fitting, see where we're at. So I'm going to be real with you guys, I think they look really cute. However, this is not what I had in mind, this is not what I had envisioned. I like a good oversized pair of overalls, but I don't like a weight loss commercial, The Biggest Loser kind of overalls, you know. So I think I'm just going to put a couple darts at the front and the back and hope that kind of mitigates this issue. So they're still a little bit too big, but I can't really take them in anymore because we've got like the button placket on the side, and then I don't want to mess up the like crotch seam if I take this bit in. So I think I'm just going to accept the fact that they're going to be a little bit big, a little bit oversized, and they're just going to be like my art teacher painter's kind of overalls, and that's going to be the vibe. But I think overall they're pretty stinking cute. I was completely lost on what to do next, so I decided to move on to the bib pieces. First up, I hemmed the sides and the top of the bib pieces, and then I matched up the centre of the waistband bits and the front bib and pinned them all together like a little sandwich and sewed this down. I then matched up the centre of the front pants and the waistband and sewed this together. I finangled the seams so all the raw edges were hidden and stitched all around the waistband so it had this pretty top stitching to make it look more profesh and not like I sewed this in 2 days on my bedroom floor. Then I repeated the same steps on the back pieces, but I didn't film much of that because at this point I'm sure we're all tired of seeing me sew various seams while the camera angles get worse and worse and I slowly get more and more out of focus. So it's currently 1:40 and I've been sewing these overalls all day. I've had no breaks, I've had no breakfast, I've had no lunch, so I'm really hungry and I'm getting a bit tired, but we're gonna push through. I think we're on the home stretch. So right now I need to add the overall buttons. I decided to procrastinate inserting the jean buttons as long as physically possible by telling myself I need to make the buttonholes first. First up, I measured how far apart I wanted the buttons to be, but I kept changing my mind on the placement and ended up with so many markings I couldn't even tell which ones I was meant to follow, so I kind of just had to wing it. Then I got out this button doohickey sewing foot for my sewing machine and I placed the button in the slider bit. I was so worried about sewing the buttonholes because I've never really done them on the sewing machine before, but it went surprisingly well, and the buttonhole sewing foot kind of just does all the thinking for you, which is much appreciated because I was losing brain cells by the minute working on this project. Then you got to cut open the holes, which is honestly the scariest part, and the fabric is so thick my scissors didn't even want to go through it, so I had to bring out the big guns and use my seam ripper. However, I forgot that I've had it for like over 7 years at this point and I've never sharpened it, so it was as blunt as a salami, so I ended up going back to my snips to finish the job. Ah, the joys of sewing. So it's 2:30 now, so I've been procrastinating putting on these jean buttons for like half an hour now, but I need to get them done, so we're just gonna go. We're just gonna do it. Right. I decided to read the instructions for once in my life as I have no idea what I'm doing, and then I proceeded to completely ignore them and use my water bottle to push the jean button together. I tried this a couple times and lost a few more brain cells before coming to the obvious realization that that would not work, and I ended up having to get a hammer, which worked so much better. Like, if you're going to ever do this yourself, which I don't know why you put yourself through this, I highly recommend not using anything other than a hammer. To add the jean buttons, you pretty much just get the pointy bit and push it through the fabric, which is surprisingly difficult with this thick fabric. Then you place it on top of the button thingy and hammer it together, and that's pretty much it. Just make sure you use gentle taps of the hammer, as if you use too much force it will damage the button. Trust me, I know from experience. I also put 2 jean buttons on the front bib and sewed the front pocket to the front bib as well. Lastly, I sewed the strap pieces together, and with a lot of struggle I inserted them into the overall buckle thingy and sewed them in place. And I also hemmed the pant legs so I was no longer drowning in the excess fabric. And with the sun setting, my brain cells abandoning me and my time running out, I finally managed to finish the challenge with moments to spare. And here's the final result! This was definitely a big undertaking for me, and I almost gave up so many times, but I'm so happy I pushed through, and I love how they turned out. They're so cute, and I love how they draw the line between clown pants and your art teacher's painting overalls. And since I used this really colourful fabric, I think they'll go with a lot of things in my wardrobe. So I hope you guys enjoyed this challenge and this overexposed reveal footage, and I'll see you guys next time for some more crafty madness. Stay crafty. Ciao ciao!